Hey everyone, welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called No Receipts, No Reimbursement. A couple of decades ago, I traveled a lot for business, between 30 and 35 weeks a year. Initially, I looked forward to the romance of travel. But I soon figured out that it was nothing like that. I had a really great boss who gave us a standard meal per diem. I think it was $30 per day. This worked great for me. I would grab the complimentary continental breakfast in the lobby, typically be too busy to eat lunch, and grab something from Subway on the way back to the hotel. Not the healthiest way to live, but it added up to an extra $100 per week. Eventually, he set the company to a new boss. I return from a trip and submit my per diem request, and the new boss denies it. Since I didn't keep the receipts, I had to pay for all my own meals on the trip. I explained the previous arrangement and asked if we could do it that way. But he tells me, no, if you don't have a receipt, you don't get reimbursed. He then drafted and printed the policy. 3 meals a day, no more than 15% tip, no room service, no snacks, no desserts, no alcohol. Okay, have it your way. My next trip was to the Bay Area of California, which was insanely overpriced then too. I decided I would follow the new policy to the letter. We all know that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So steaks and eggs is the smart way to start the day in the nearby 4-star hotel. Realizing I wasn't getting enough steak and lobster in my diet, I went for the surf and turf special for dinner. And since I wouldn't have time for lunch the next day, another to go please. It was a glorious week of finding the most expensive things I could both pronounce and eat. I returned to the office and submitted my expenses, with receipts of course. Instead of $150 that week, the company wrote me a check for over $700. The new boss quickly rescinded that policy, allowing me my $30 per diem again, and I could keep what I didn't use. The next story is called I Can Play That Game Too. I work in sales. I spend time in my actual office and on the road making cold calls. The small company I work for uses a call logging software that plans my trips to customers. A typical logged call would look like this: call the customer, time spent in call notes. About a year ago, the owner of the company asked me to create a customer called Office Work to ping on the software to let him know I was in my office and not out seeing customers. In the call notes, I would write a short general description of what I did in my time in the office. A month ago, the owner decided his fresh out of college 22-year-old son was fit to be the manager of all salespersons. His son has commenced to micromanage my daily call reports to the fullest extent. He has to write a report to his father about what each salesperson does every day. I get texts or emails almost daily asking what exact times I did what in my office or on the road. This culminated in the owner's son demanding I log each individual task, such as driving to a customer, working on a spreadsheet, or even warming up my vehicle. The example he gave me was 7:30 am to 7:49 am, checked and responded to emails, 7:52 to 8 am, warmed up the truck. Each entry takes about a minute to create and log. He wanted to know what I was doing every minute of the entire workday. Fine, I can play that game as well. For the past week and a half, I have been scrutinizing every single second of the day to a ludicrous extent. I timed 5 minutes and counted the number of breaths I took to get an average amount of breathing per minute. About 18 breaths per minute, better log that. I began timing my bathroom breaks and logging it. My fastest bladder draining is 48 seconds, including washing hands. I timed how long it took to fill up my water and logged it, 29 seconds from start to back at my desk. I timed how long to tie my boots and logged that, 4 seconds each boot. Sitting at a stoplight, logged. He now knows I can knock on a customer's door 10 times in 3 seconds. For about a week I logged everything I did, every waking moment of the workday, including the bites of my salad for lunch. I even got the other salesperson to join me in the malicious compliance. He was inundated in hundreds of reports each day he had to come through. Today he sent an email to the Salesforce that we are no longer required to give specific times for tasks, but rather a general description would suffice. Just like it was before he took over. The third story is called All Within Your Rules. I work in a UK company that has a very good leave policy. I get 27 days annual leave, and I can also build up flexi time and take up to 2 flexi days off per month. In addition, due to a screw up in HR, I am allowed to float all my public holidays. I was moved to a joint venture company for tax and legal purposes. And when they took me back into the parent company, they just adopted my contract from that company instead of getting me to sign a new one. One day, I put in a leave request for 3 leave days and 2 flexi days. The HR person denied it, as she said it was against the rules to mix flexi and normal leave days. The rules had changed some time ago to allow mixing, but the HR person told me that it was against the rules. I took it higher, and her decision was overturned, but she did not like it one little bit. Thereafter, whenever I submitted a request with mixed leave, she rejected it out of spite, claiming that it was not in the spirit of the rules. It is an interesting view into her mindset that she refused instead of asking how she could do it too. She was all about stopping me, so the fight began. Easter was coming up and I was due to take 2 weeks off. The middle Friday of my holiday was also the end of my leave month, and the Monday started a new month. So I put in for 2 public holidays carried over from Christmas, 2 flexi days and a Good Friday public holiday. And since the second week was a new leave month, I used another 2 days of flexi, plus the public holiday Easter Monday and 1 day of public holiday from the start of the year. So my 14 days holiday in the sun cost me a single Friday, which is 5 hours of leave time. She went ballistic, but could do nothing despite trying to find any way to stop the request. As a direct result of her trying to stop me, I now make a point of building up and using as much flexi leave as I can. All just to see her pretending to smile as I hand in my request to her directly every single time. She grits her teeth so much I expect her to break her jaw. In 2019 I peaked and managed almost 60 days of leave, all thanks to her. Maybe I should thank her. The next story is called Sure, It Won't Happen Again. Back when I was in my mid-30s, I needed some extra cash for a lawyer bill. So I picked up an extra job at a national chain hobby store. I choose here because they close on Sundays and they happen to pay a couple of bucks above minimum wage at the time. It was perfect. I would work a few evenings during the week, then a full shift on Saturday doing just basic stocking and cleaning stuff. I didn't really care what I was doing there. And so I ended up becoming everyone's preferred helper, since I never said no unless I was in the middle of something else that had a higher priority. I would even interrupt my breaks to help someone out if they needed it. When that happened, I would note the time and be sure to make up my missed break time when I was finished helping the person out. I even did this for the manager, let's call him John, from time to time with no complaints. It didn't bother me at all. I had my professional career and the temp work wasn't too difficult or degrading. I ended up working there longer than I needed to pay the lawyer bill, and I just stuck the extra cash towards paying off some other debt we had at the time. Everything was fine until one time John saw me in the break room again, taking what he assumed was another break. Naturally, he asked about it, and I explained that a coworker needed my help with something, so I helped her and now was taking the rest of my 15-minute break. John didn't like that and told me that I could not split my breaks anymore. I had to take the 15 minutes all at once. Okay, if you say so. I didn't care, but it really impacted my coworkers, although they understood why I would not interrupt my break anymore. The real kicker came one Tuesday night when I was the only stocker working. The only other employees were 2 teenage girls as cashiers and John. I had just sat down for my break a minute earlier, when John poked his head into the break room to tell me I needed to go pull a chest off of a high shelf for a customer. They had already paid for it and were waiting for someone to load it into their car. I turned my head so I could look at the break room clock and told him I would get right on it in another 13 minutes. He said they needed me now. And I reminded him that I was not allowed to split my breaks and also noted that he was interrupting my break. To make my point even clearer, I stood up and walked around to the other side of the table so I could sit down with my back to John. After the 13 minutes passed, I went up front to find the customers so I could get their chest and stick it in their car. I didn't see John, but a cashier told me that they didn't wait and ended up getting a refund on the purchase. Not sure why John didn't get the chest down himself. It wasn't that difficult. Anyway, John wasn't too happy with me after that, and I didn't stay much longer either. I had earned my cash and didn't need that job by then. The last story is called The Rules State. I worked for a US network news company and was on staff, so I had a nice benefit of time off days and vacation. Because of the nature of the work, we didn't get bank holidays off. Instead, they gave us floating holidays to use whenever we wanted, with approval of course. We were only allowed to carry over a maximum of 5 unused vacation or personal days to the next year, as long as they were used in the first 3 months of the new year. As you can imagine, vacation time use becomes highly in demand around the Christmas holidays. We have to put in for them in September to get the days off. The news is 24/7 and needs staff coverage. I typically didn't use much time throughout the year, so I would take the week or so between Christmas through after the new year. This particular year I had 7 unused days and I was already off from December 24th through January the 2nd. HR reminded me that I can only carry over 5 of those 7 days. I asked if I can use them on December 22nd and 23rd. They said no, which I understood as it was too late to find a replacement for me. As I was already off the rest of the year, there weren't another 2 days to take off before the new year began. So I asked for a one-time exception to carry over the extra 2 days, and I would extend my little Christmas break 2 days into the next year to show that I would use them ASAP. They said no, the rule stayed. And here comes the malicious compliance. I went back to look at the policies, and the new year didn't have any restrictions on vacation usage like the December time has. All I had to do was give at least 2 weeks notice. I added up my 5 carryover days, vacation and floating holidays, as well as my overtime that I built up, and put in a request the next day. All of this time meant I would leave on December 23rd and not return to work until the last week of February. The next day I handed in my request. And since this person now had to schedule my replacement for the next 2.5 months and they had to pay me, I was on staff, she was not happy. About an hour later, I got a call from the HR supervisor. I got my 2 extra carryover days. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to click the like button. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what you think about this episode in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.